How many of you have ever wanted or dreamed of becoming a professional athlete? In a recent survey, between 2 and 12 years of age, these kids put professional athlete as their number 2 choice right behind doctors. Sports have been increasing over popularity over the years and has become the nation's biggest pastime. I'm sure a few of us were part of the 111.9 million viewers who watched the Super Bowl. And I'm sure we also watched, out of the 17.8 million viewers who watched Villanova beat North Carolina for the NCAA championship, tuned in to watch and think of, will these guys be professional athletes and make millions of dollars and live a good life? I've played sports years round since I could walk. I've studied sports and it has been a major part of my life. I've researched about the pros and cons about athletes going pro. Professional athletes are facing a more financial problem on and off the court once that clock hits 0. Today I'm going to talk to you about the rising financial problems that most professional athletes are facing. First, I will talk about the problems they are facing once and before they go pro. Next, I will discuss the financial problems once they are pro. Then I will talk about the problems that happen when they retire. We'll jump right into the problems college athletes are facing once they become professional. A common problem these kids are facing are lack of education and being very naive. FoxNews.com reported a scandal recently about North Carolina and academic misconduct. This university was found guilty of making fake classes, giving grades without even looking at the athletes' assignments, and giving out answer keys to these athletes so they can get past the class. These schools are recruiting kids at such a young age to come to their university just to play sports and make more money for that university. Most of these kids are coming from poverty-stricken areas with little or no education that are below national standards. These universities are only looking out for themselves and will take these kids for granted. Because these athletes only see college as a stepping stone and only want to become professional, they really don't care about school and they don't want to go to these classes. These athletes then fail to gain the knowledge required for normal adults to live without sports. They believe that everyone is looking out for their best interest when everybody wants to get a piece of their pie. They take their word for it because they don't know any different and it's new to them, and they're confused and want to know what's going on. Now that these players have been pro and have a few years under their belt, the problems continue to happen. As the money keeps rolling in, so do the problems. Not all athletes get paid top tier, but they all want to act, dress, and live the life like they do. Jamal Mashburn, an 11-year veteran of the NBA, once stated to Forbes.com, "The show wasn't as much on the court as it was in the parking lot." What he was meaning is, everybody is trying to keep up with the Joneses. It doesn't matter who has the nicest car, house, or jewelry, they want to do better than that person. So they'll spend their millions to become that. The stratospheric salaries lead us to believe that these athletes will never run out of money. But when you break it down, these athletes are only getting paid a couple $1,000s once everybody gets paid and their utilities are paid for. Now that they have become multimillionaires overnight, they have communities, family, and women eyeing their cash. Athletes who do look for financial guidance usually get taken advantage of by the accountants, lawyers, and advisors, all wanting to get paid. Forbes.com has stated that Bernie Kosar, an NFL quarterback for 11 years, once had over 50 families depending on him for financial aid. One restaurant owner in the Washington, D.C. area admitted to setting up a service that had over 7,000 women's phone numbers in it. So once Michael Jordan would dine at that establishment, a text would send out saying that he was in the place and they can get the chance to meet him. Over 2,000 women would typically come to this place just to try to be around him. These athletes aren't shy about turning away the women either. Travis Henry, a running back for 7 years, has at least 11 kids with 10 different women. In total, Travis has about $170,000 worth of annual child support he has to pay out. The ones that do settle down and get married are usually divorced 60% of them are divorced within 3 years of retiring from the sport. Even when you think things are good, problems will come out of nowhere. We'll take the LA or St. Louis Rams, for instance. They're moving to LA, and on average, the Orange County Register states that each player will lose $1 million per year just from in-tax alone. They're going from a 6% income tax to a 12.3% income tax. And that doesn't include housing or any other kind of utilities that they'll be facing to deal with in LA. Players begin to live a lifestyle where they believe the money will never stop. Athletes can get injured or cut at any moment and are usually for the owner's sake to save a little bit of money. You've made it to the end of your career, but you're still not out of the woods. Retiring is meant to be for relaxation and no stress. Athletes are retiring around the age of 30. So this means that they have about 40 to 50 years to live off of about 5 years of income that they might have saved. The ones who don't save have no education or very little to fall back on to find any other source of income. Athletes who do try to invest in real estate or other alternative investments have about a 90% failure rate. Within 2 years of retirement, 78% of all NFL players have either gone bankrupt or facing financial distress. Within 5 years after retirement, about 60% of NBA players are dealing with the same thing about bankruptcy and going broke. This makes people decide to pick a side of the fence to choose on. Some of us will think these poor athletes, they were used and abused, and now we just left them to the side of the road to defend for themselves. The other side, we think that they're stupid and that they've been handed the world on a silver platter and that they did nothing with it except let us down. These were just some of the problems that the athletes are facing with today. Today I shared with you about financial problems that athletes deal with prior and once they retire. Once they have been in the league a few years, they begin to break down and need to find more money. And maybe this information will help us to change our kids' minds about listing a professional athlete as one of their top dream jobs. Thank you for coming.